Hello, everybody, and welcome to the second episode of Football Geekout podcast. My name is Adam. I am joined by a room full of geeks, nerds, and all sorts of stuff. Let's have them introduce themselves.
I'm Mike. Mike.
Who fills a room entirely by himself. It doesn't have to have anybody else in it.
Yeah, I appreciate the less body shaming. That's all right.
I think Mike would also be referred to as the other stuff part of your intro.
That's what I'm trying to be all inclusive here.
This is decidedly turned Mike centric, and I don't appreciate it.
Hello, my name is Mike Other Stuff Durham.
Okay, I'm fine with that.
So we've heard from Mike. Who else do we have in the podcast?
This is Dave. I go on the moniker of Milwaukee Bolts in our family because I'm a huge Packers fan. And
I'm already asleep, by the way, guys. Just kidding, Dave.
That was an awesome laugh.
We've got two more people.
Torturing.
We've got two more people.
Okay.
Clint's next. I'm still typing.
Oh, there you go. He's writing up an intro. Good God, I come unprepared. I was so unprepared for this. My name is Clinton Nobles. I have two kids. That's pretty much
we don't really need introductions besides just our name.
Yeah,
I feel like that. I don't know.
Okay, one more. Let's go.
I'm Michael, and yeah, that's all you need to know about me.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So we've got 5 people this week. We had 3 people last week? Yeah, we had 3 people last
I
week.
don't know.
So we had 5 this week. We're getting bigger, badder.
That's about you, Mike.
So next week we should have 7 people if we extrapolate this.
Exactly. Okay, so we've got 6 questions. Let's get down to some NFL business. Currently, when this podcast is being done, it is week 8. So we're halfway through the season.
Way to date us. We won't be able to use this as an evergreen production. So you know.
So first question: if Adam Gase and Hugh Jackson switched teams, would the Dolphins and Browns be in the same position they are now? So
yes, they would be. Dolphins would still be a middling team or a crappy team masquerading as a middling and be winless. Dolphins would not have a quarterback. Players in general.
Mike's cutting in and out like the Dolphins, man.
Exactly.
Am I?
Yeah, you are.
Okay. We have to cut. Is that any better? I was playing with my cord of my headset.
Yeah. So I think here's my thing is that by the time Adam Gase would have figured out what to do with the Browns, they would still be as pitiful as they are now. Because, being a Dolphins fan, I've had to study Adam Gase for the past, 2 years. And he's one of those people that he's a very aggressive team that wants to do aggressive things. And I don't think the Browns are even close. The Dolphins masquerade as being a tough team because they've got a defense that has tough players. But we don't have tough often.
Here's Hugh Jackson, and this is just my opinion. I think he's a great coach, but I don't know that he's a great head coach. I think he can get the most out of his players, but he's still. It doesn't seem like he's learned how to be a head coach. You're watching the situation with Kaiser going on. How he keeps benching the poor kid and then bringing him back and then benching him, literally wasting. Supposed to be a test of a rookie quarterback before they're so bad, they're probably getting the first pick again. So are you wasting this quarterback and trying to find out if he's any good? And then you're going to get a new quarterback possibly next year. That's it. To me, that just seems like a huge waste. And I feel like he would do a similar thing on the Dolphins. I feel like he would end up wasting whatever they've got going on, especially they don't fit to his style anyway. He's more of a pass. He's more of a throw the ball down the field kind of play guy, and they don't have that. It's the same problem he has with the Browns. Now, I do think the Browns would not necessarily be great, but I think that Gase would at least have coached a win or two out of them by this point, because there have been some closer games that I think he could have won through his stylings, because he prefers to not rely on the quarterback as much. Well, I mean, come on, he's been preaching, oh, we're going to get Isaiah Crowell involved. And what has he done? Not get him involved.
Question: are we going to be forced to talk about the Dolphins every episode?
Probably.
Answer: yes, because as long as Adam is hosting this, it is going to always involve some sort of a Dolphins question.
I just feel like both teams aren't really a head coach away from competing or changing their culture.
Yeah.
So do you fire Hugh Jackson?
No. I think what Mike is saying is that they already didn't like the head coach is not what's keeping these teams back right now. There's much more issues going on than just a head coach. It's not like for example, like the Tennessee Vols. I know this is an NFL podcast, but in college football, Tennessee Vols, they are, at least last year, probably a different head coach away from a championship.
SEC championship, yes.
Yeah, SEC championship is what I mean. But anyway, Mike, I'll let you finish. I don't want to hijack.
But I think what you might be saying is this year they are not a head coach away from SEC championship. They just don't have the talent this year to compete in general.
Well, maybe they are. Maybe they are. I think.
College football.
That's for a different podcast.
Okay.
Okay, Clint, do you wanna say anything? Yeah, you got any ideas?
Actually, I just got back. I didn't hear anybody else's. I got a outside work called in. So,
Adam, how well can you edit this, by the way?
No,
can you cut around this?
Sorry. As far as so, I may be saying something that somebody else has said is the main point of it. I don't necessarily think there would be that much difference if only switching the coaches. In all honesty, I think the Browns' main issue is their home office. I think and personnel management of the team in and of itself, like how they develop their ideologies and how they forecast the growth of the team and the development of the brand. That is the number one thing that the Browns struggle with. I mean, good God, they've had the first round pick and full drafts. They've been high in almost every recent draft. And so it's not the lack of potential talent. It's quite honestly how they handle it. Mm-hmm. I think the Dolphins' biggest issue is leadership. It's management. So yeah, you probably could change out leadership and have a different team because there is talent there. There's multiple levels. There's bench support for it. So if somebody goes down, there is people that can come up. They may not be the greatest talent, but they can fill a gap. So in my opinion, I don't really think that there would be that much difference because switching out a head coach on the Browns, that's not going to do any good. You need to reorganize the kind of like the decision-making paradigm of the organization. Whereas the Dolphins see across the board as far as their coaching staff goes, that everybody needs to get on the same page. They need to really know what a game plan is going into it and stick to it and stick with who they have on the field.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
also real quick, I think if Jimmy Haslam, who is the owner of the Browns, spent as much time working on the Browns as he did, trying to come up with gas rebate fraud schemes, the Browns would be pretty good.
Savage.
Okay, so the next question, is this Carson Palmer's last season as a starter, last season in general, or does he just hang around as a backup? Mike,
he does not hang around as backup.
No, I'll take this one.
Okay.
I'll take this one.
Michael's been waiting for this all week. I'll take this one.
I'll take this one because Carson Palmer was literally the little he was the crutch that was halfway holding my team up some weeks, which is sad, but
Feeling personal.
no. I don't. Will he retire? Probably. Probably not. I don't know. I don't think.
Great answer.
I don't. Well, listen. I don't think Carson Palmer is one of those. He's been in the league long enough at this point that I don't think he's just going to hang around as a backup. You know.
Yeah.
He doesn't try. Like I think if he's done being a starter, which he very well could be, depending on what kind of moves Arizona wants to make in the offseason. If he's done being a starter, he's going to retire. I don't see him wanting to go be a backup somewhere.
And I don't think that Arizona is going to want him back next year. You got to imagine at this point, Arians' job is not safe, and you got to imagine they're either going to want to go more youthful than they have been in the last few years because they know they're not their championship window's closed. And if Arizona doesn't want him back, I mean, really, what starting job is out there that you could see him getting? The Jaguars?
Yeah.
I mean, I just don't see anybody taking a shot on him at this point in his career as a starter. He would have to do as a backup.
So I've been thinking about this question since you sent it to me the other day, and yeah, honestly, I think that he might retire. But if Arians is still coaching after this year in Arizona, I think that he might end up being the quarterback coach for Arizona. Arians and him have a very, very close relationship, which is the reason that he got fired in Pittsburgh was because he and Ben had too close a relationship. So I think that what more than likely is going to happen would be that he becomes a quarterback coach and starts training those younger people that Arians needs. But yeah, I say he retires.
Here's something that's interesting on it. Arizona, if they want out of his contract, they will eat over $6.5 million in dead cap. That's going to be an interesting breakdown because he's signed for 2 years. He still has one more year. So I wouldn't necessarily say he's guaranteed out. That's that serious. Which, I mean, admittedly, it's not. It wasn't his throwing arm. I don't believe it was. It was his left arm.
Can I throw one thing out there real quick?
Yeah.
Actually,
yeah.
I'll wait to the end of this question. It's a separate question. Go ahead, whoever was going to say something.
Yeah, it's just more the fact that, in my opinion, if I were him, I'll put it this way: if I were him, I would retire. He's made a lot of money. He's done very well for himself. I mean, the fact of the matter is you're not getting any younger. Your receiving core is not getting any better, and we don't know when we have no idea where your running back's going to be when he gets back with David Johnson. And your best receiving target, at least that you constantly went to, prior to. So the problem is less on does Carson himself want to retire and what are the pieces around him going to do? Because especially if Arians is gone, I think he's gone.
I have an addendum to this question. 2 parts. First part, when Carson Palmer retires, if he retired this year, would he be a Hall of Fame quarterback? Second part of that question, before you answer that part, is Ben Roethlisberger and Carson Palmer. They are pretty close to identical in stats in terms of yards thrown for, touchdowns, interceptions. They're within, like 1 or 2% of each other in both. Completion percentage as well. They both played in the league the same amount of years. Basically, they are the identical quarterback in terms of stats. The only difference is Big Ben has 2 Super Bowl rings.
I think the other difference is the fact that Carson Palmer has been on 3 different teams. 2 of them were bad breakups, and then you have Arizona. I think that does make a difference.
How does it make a difference? Like as far as
the same thing about like it's
Terrell Owens is what he's saying.
Yeah, it's the same thing with Terrell Owens, where you have bad breakups that lead to people not thinking that you're as good as you should be. I think that that's going to be the big kicker. Is throughout his career, he had a really bad breakup with Oakland, and he just, it just didn't go very well when he left.
Bad breakup with Cincinnati, not Oakland.
Yeah,
it was both.
And I don't think he's going to make it to the Hall. He's going to make it into the Hall of Fame, but I know Michael, the Hall of Fame is a source. Aside from the 2 Super Bowls, which we shouldn't use as a Hall of Fame benchmark, their stats, I mean, they're the same quarterback. There's no difference between them.
Let's put it this way too, though.
Mhm.
He had some pretty good talent though with him in Cincinnati and stuff like that. And
Anything like what Big Ben has had in Pittsburgh. I'm sorry, that's not. I'm not
Yeah, no,
gonna agree with that
I
at all.
totally agree with that.
Yeah,
yeah,
Big
but
Ben has had
Big Ben
much
has had
better team.
what? Santonio Holmes,
Hines
and,
Ward?
Michael Burris. He has Antonio Holmes. He had
He
Mike
had an
Wallace.
older Hines Ward.
He had Santonio Holmes, Plexible Burst, Mike
Keith
Wallace.
Miller.
3 years. He had Antonio Brown, who has been the best wide receiver in the league for 6 years. He's had Le'Veon Bell. Before that, he had Jerome Bettis. Big Ben has had a much better supporting cast.
Let's also put it
and a
this
better
way, though,
defense.
is that Le'Veon Bell, the Steelers have not been to the Super Bowl since Le'Veon Bell, though.
Right.
That's
Well, we're not counting Super Bowls. We're talking about stats. So Big Ben has had a much better supporting cast, offense and defense wise, than Palmer has ever had.
Okay.
Defense, I would argue that he's actually had good defenses with him, Carson Palmer. I can see.
Right, but I mean, nothing like Troy Polamalu. I mean,
Yeah,
nothing
but
like
that's a singular
Steelers.
player, though.
So we've
I'm
got
talking
the. I'm
the
sorry
Steelers
to
do-
interrupt.
Go ahead.
We've reached the time limit for that question. So
But that wasn't even on. That was an extra question. That the
yeah,
audience got.
that was all part of the 6 minutes actually. So it all fit together.
Can I have one more thing
Yeah.
on there?
Oh my God.
The thing for Carson Palmer also is the fact of he doesn't have a lot of playoff wins in general, and that hurts him more even than Super Bowls. Is the problem?
He also has a lot of playoff chokes.
I guess so. I don't know. If you go off stats wise, if you go off,
5 interceptions.
if you go off
For
stats, they are the exact same quarterback. So just Michael, I'm surprised you haven't weighed in on this since you love.
Since I love what? Since I love talking about quarterbacks in the Hall of Fame and how the whole system is just garbage.
And Carson Palmer actually has only had like 4 playoff games in general, so that's not a really good comparison. But go ahead, Michael.
I was gonna say I think if you're asking me the reality of what I think is gonna happen, I think just the reality is Ben Roethlisberger has a much better chance of getting into the Hall of Fame. I think Ben Roethlisberger will end up in the Hall of Fame. I was actually completely unaware that his stats and Carson Palmer's stats were really similar. I do know because when I was looking this up the other day, I know Big Ben, Eli Manning, and Phillip Rivers, they all have very similar stats as well over their careers. So I don't know. To me, the problem is Carson Palmer. I've never viewed him as like elite in the elite tier of his position for multiple seasons. I've definitely considered him as a great quarterback, for a few seasons in there, but there's never been a season compared to the players that have been around him that league.
And that is a defining characteristic. You have to be one of the best of your position for multiple years. I agree with that.
Yeah. So that's kind of how I look at it.
That's true.
Personally.
Also, is somebody buzzing us, Adam? Are you buzzing us to tell us the time is up?
No,
I think it's actually
that's
Dave's phone.
Yeah.
When,
Okay, so the next question is actually a listener question. We have 3 listeners, I think, for the first podcast as of like last Tuesday.
Is this from your mom?
No, it is from somebody named Alan. And his question is, who is the most underrated rookie?
Well, are they talking about fantasy or are they talking about
No, they're
real life
talking
NFL?
real life NFL.
IRL.
Hold
IRL.
on. I'm gonna ask for the question one more time, but I just want to clarify. One of our listeners asked this question.
Yes. His name is
Oh, that's
Alan.
amazing. Okay. Anyway,
It says mom.
It's not. I can show you the chat.
It's another guy whose name begins with A.
Okay, who was talking, Clint?
James Mitchell asked the question.
Oh, I feel like that's a cheat because he's in our league.
It's not. Okay.
It's not.
Okay.
Question.
3, 2, 1.
Who is the most underrated rookie
in real life,
not fans?
I'll go with. I kind of have a toss-up on mine. Kareem Hunt and Deshaun Watson, to me, are both neck and neck for that. I think one of them wins
Underrated?
offensive rookie of the
that's
year.
Underrated,
Underrated?
Dave? You think Deshaun Watson and Kareem Hunt
Wait,
are
we need to
underrated?
define. Are we talking about underrated coming into the season or underrated
Yeah.
now?
Underrated
That's my
in
bad.
general.
Okay, well they're not underrated. I think
They're not
I would
underrated
say
anymore.
Alvin Kamara
Yeah.
makes that list way
Yeah.
before.
I think Dave thought underrated coming into the season, which
That would make sense.
Yeah.
That would make
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah,
that would make sense.
That's my bad on that.
so.
As of right
Um,
now, I would think I'm gonna say Alvin Kamara. Holy
I don't think
crap!
Alvin Kamara is that underrated because I hear
was
people
a
talk about him all the time.
I'll go.
Like right now, like I don't know, he's everybody thinks he's gonna be like RB2 this year. So
I think my thing is I can't think of a quarterback, or I mean I can't think of a rookie that's necessarily underrated because admittedly the rookies that are playing that are performing well are usually talked about. I think you could I think you could answer maybe the question of what rookie is being woefully underutilized.
Dante Foreman.
And I think Tarek Cohen. I won't just say this because I have him on my fantasy team and I spent 40 free agent dollars on him at the start of the season. But I do think he is woefully underutilized. And I know Jordan Howard has been beast mode, killing it for the past couple of weeks, but Tarek Cohen's a very special player in the pass game, and even his targets have dipped. I blame John Fox on that one personally, but
He can be blamed for a lot on that on the Bears offense.
Yeah.
I think Dante Foreman might be
That's who
underused.
I would say I'm probably underused more than underrated, but I would, and it's maybe call it Homer syndrome, but Juju. Nobody knows him.
Yeah,
Smith-Schuster.
Juju.
Who's Juju?
We just
Yeah,
we're
Schuster.
not sure.
Oh, Schuster.
Yeah.
To be fair, he was only underused because they had Martavius Bryant. I think he's going to be used quite a bit.
Now
This we're not going to trade him. No, they're
No, they're not going to trade him.
Yeah, they're never going to trade
No,
him.
there's no.
But I
way.
agree, Clint. That's a good choice.
Yeah.
He
That
might
is
have
a
been
good choice.
underappreciated, but yeah, I think he'll definitely get more play going forward. So
That makes me
Is,
feel better because I so figured it was just you were going to be like Steeler.
oh no,
I agree. I agree.
the
with
the
that.
running back for the Packers right now is that a rookie?
What's his name?
Aaron Jones or
Aaron
Adam
Jones?
Jones?
Aaron Jones?
I don't know.
think he's
Dave,
a rookie.
you would know the answer to this.
I don't think he's a rookie.
Is Aaron Jones a rookie? We may
Yeah,
have
looks
lost
like he is a
Dave.
rookie.
Dave, if you're saying something, we can't hear you, bro.
Aaron Jones is in fact a rookie. Yes.
I would
there
say
you go.
him then. Like Ty Montgomery was the starter going in.
Okay.
He got injured, or he had the health issues. All of a sudden, they're like, "Oh my gosh, what are we gonna do?" Then Aaron
Here's the
Rodgers
even
goes
funnier
down.
thing. The funnier thing is Aaron Jones was actually, if I'm not mistaken, a 5th round pick. And not only that, he was actually the 3rd string running back. Jamal Williams was actually the back that was ahead of him.
That's
Yeah.
true.
That's
Jamal
true.
Williams had all the play.
Yeah.
Rumor. So yeah, that's a good
Also,
point.
beware 5th round running backs. They'll have one great year, and then the next year they'll suck it up for the first 8 games.
I will
Who are we
actually.
talking about, Adam?
Jay Ajayi.
JJ.
I may have to revise my answer since Clint is here and he's a big Steelers fan. I may have to revise my answer. I wish my wife was here to hear this because God, I love picking on her. But I think the most underutilized and undervalued rookie right now in the NFL is crap. I just forgot his name. Dang it.
What?
Sorry, I can't believe I forgot his name. Joshua Dobbs. And the reason I think Joshua
Oh,
Dobbs
come on.
is the most underrated and underused rookie is because if Ben Roethlisberger is going to throw 6 interceptions in every game, every time he goes on the road, I think they need to put someone else in there.
No, they're
No.
No, there's no way
Please.
that's happening.
Please.
I'm just kidding. Totally kidding.
I could be an Eagles fan and be
Totally
like, that's
kidding.
bullcrap.
I mean, I think
Totally
Joshua
kidding.
Dobbs is a
That
good
was
Yeah.
really more just to mess with Clint
No,
and my wife.
no. And
That's
I
a
appreciate
that's
you.
a Vol homerism and a Steeler. That's pretty amazing. Good job.
Okay, so the next question we have
It's from Adam, I can tell already.
Yes, it is.
Because it's about emotion, because Adam is emotional.
I am. So here's the question. Emotion versus level-headedness. Which position needs to be overly emotional? Which one needs to be calmer? Okay, so let me clarify.
Yeah, please.
These are so
before I rip this one a new one.
Let me clarify. So there are players in our league currently in the NFL who are insanely emotional to the point where they break things or they hurt themselves doing something stupid. Then you have players that show no emotion and people are like, why is he just standing there? Show some emotion. So my question is, which positions should be overly emotional, or which ones are allowed to be overly emotional, and which ones should have should have to tone themselves back? So
I don't understand this question at all.
For example, Odell Beckham is a very overly emotional person to a point where it's gotten him in trouble multiple times. He's gotten himself hurt by doing things stupid. He probably needs to tone it down. On the other hand, you have people like Jay Cutler and Chad Henne who show no emotion, and you're like, please, just show me that you care. Show me that you want to play football, for God's sake. So, is there a position that needs to be emotional to kind of lift the rest of the team up with them?
I will say one thing, and then I'll step away real quick. This is a super subjective question.
It is very subjective. Okay, I'll take first run. So
Claiming second.
The only way I can legitimately answer this question is by framing it in the construct of passion versus power. So does somebody possess the passion for the game rather than someone that simply has the power in the game? So Barry Sanders used to always say he never celebrated when he ran into the end zone because he didn't want to act like he would never be there again.
Yeah.
So passion to me can come from anybody on the team and raise the level of the game for those around them. My big thing when I'm developing leaders in what I do, when I'm training them and developing, I always say leaders don't have to be the best at everything. They simply need to bring out the best in those around them. So to me, this question speaks more to position could be better served through either passionate leadership or powerful leadership. So the lineman that goes out and gets 6 sacks a game, he may not, make a big show of it because he's just, the best will always be the best. And that's his job. That's what he does. So he brings the power to the game. It's really, really hard to do it by position simply because you're dealing with human beings, and the defensive lineman can actually have a lot more passion than the quarterback. But if the quarterback can remain calm in a really stressful situation, his calmness may actually raise the level of play because he's letting everybody know we're not panicking, we have this. So as much around the elbow as I can answer that question, that's kind of what I say.
I appreciate what you said there, Clint. I'm glad you took it from emotion to passion. I'm going to piggyback off of that and just say that I don't think playing overly emotional is something that is a good idea at any position.
Mm-hmm.
And that's from my experience having played the game, and that's from my experience having watched people much better than me play the game.
Emotion leads to injury.
Emotion leads to boneheaded mistakes. It leads to injury. And I don't think being calm and level-headed means that you have to lack passion.
Exactly.
Kind of like what Clint was talking about. I think it's incredibly important that people have passion. That passion's going to surface in different ways. I liked Clint's passion and power. leadership paradigm there. But I would argue that really even the power leaders, the guy who goes out and does his job, the Peyton Mannings of the world. Peyton Manning never celebrated. Peyton Manning very rarely, very rarely celebrated.
He got a fist bump. Like he would like, whew.
He was always one of the he might give a little fist bump or a thumbs up, but he was always like one of the first players off the field after a touchdown. He wasn't running down to the end zone, high five and celebrating,
he was also
jumping around.
Screaming at his linemen if they did something wrong. He was screaming at the tight ends if they did something wrong, especially later in his career. My example that I just thought of was Eli Manning. The dude shows no passion whatsoever. It doesn't look like he wants to be there anymore. He just looks irritated.
Well, he probably doesn't. Have you seen his line?
Yeah, but he looks irritated, and he's always looked irritated, though. And is there somebody? And I think that's where the Giants have gone wrong for so long. Is there somebody there that's fighting to be better?
I think the problem with this question is that it's just so subjective because he doesn't show outward emotion, which he does. I mean, the Eli face is like a meme every single week, pretty much. So he does show outside emotion. But just because he doesn't get ecstatic or whatever, or scream or something, we want to be there. He probably wants to be there. I'm sure he wouldn't play the game if he didn't want to be there. He just has a different way of processing his feelings than what other people might be used to.
Mike,
especially when play the game for the Giants if he didn't want to be playing football.
That's true.
Mike, what you and I used to talk about this actually a lot, this particular quarterback. I think it was Rex Grossman, but it was a 49ers quarterback that
Jeff Garcia.
Yes, ran up and hit his head on the wall. You remember this?
I don't remember Jeff Garcia doing that, but I do remember talking about Jeff Garcia. I love Jeff. I was a big fan of Jeff Garcia.
But, okay, so this quarterback, I remember watching this game, and I was young, and I remember thinking at the time, that is the stupidest moment I've ever seen in my life. This guy comes in for an injured back, right? Makes a game-changing touchdown. Super excited. He runs it in the end zone. He's super excited. He goes over and headbutts the wall. Takes 2 steps, and I'm looking right now on the internet trying to find out who it was, but he takes like 2 or 3 steps and collapses. And so the third string quarterback has to come out because he let in this question's thing, he let his emotion get to him and he headbutted a wall.
Somebody who did something similar, Brett Favre used to tackle his teammates whenever they would make touchdowns and stuff. They actually had to stop him because they were afraid he was going to actually injure them or himself. On another note,
Gus Farrar.
Okay, awesome.
Yes, that makes more sense, Clint. I was the entire time we were talking. I was like, I don't think Jeff Garcia did this.
No. He was
as far as
more sense
a position I think should be allowed to get overly emotional and stuff. I want to see overly emotional kickers and punters because I absolutely
Marquette King.
May I introduce you to Marquise King?
Yes,
Marquette King.
Pat McCaffrey.
I just wish
Pat McAfee.
I just wish the NFL would just go full blitz. Anybody remember the arcade game?
Yes.
That's what needs to happen.
I totally love Dave's point though. I am 100% on board with Dave's point. Like, can we just let kickers and punters own the field, please?
Okay, so the next question. This is a fantasy question. Fantasy keepers who aren't performing, but you just can't bear to lose them.
I think this should be fantasy players more than fantasy keepers because you don't know who the keepers are.
Fantasy players.
Well, my answer would be Le'Veon Bell for the first 2 or 3 weeks of the season.
On a side note, I want to say I called that. Anybody remember what I said at the draft? Wouldn't touch Le'Veon Bell?
Yep. One that'll probably hit right in Adam's wheelhouse, Jordy Nelson right now. Because he's so super talented.
That didn't sound like
if you wanted to, if you if you wanted to keep, so you want to keep him because he's obviously good for like 10 touchdowns, 100 receptions.
With Aaron Rodgers.
But the problem is without Rodgers, he's not going to do that, and you have to obviously you're waiting for a while thinking, is this guy is he gonna eventually establish a connection with Hundley?
Yep.
Yeah, but I don't. And here's what I would use Nelson for. I personally, I would view that as an opportunity to to trade up, because Nelson has a big name. Yeah, he could develop some kind of rapport with Hundley, but the chances of that are relatively slim. But his talent could very well, make it happen.
Yeah.
So I personally would rather take the Nelson and trade namesake for more than anything, and maybe get a wide receiver too that's really, really good, and they're doing really well, and they're borderline wide receiver one, but you're going to get consistency out of them. So I wouldn't necessarily look at Nelson as a negative. I would look at it as an opportunity to be able to really get something that is going to be a week in, week out performer, because you can trade on name basis.
Yeah,
we
that's
should
what
throw
Adam tried to do.
some names out there actually to see who will, like a yes or no. Like, would you trade Jordy Nelson for Stephon Diggs right now? I would want Stephon Diggs.
I would want Diggs, I guess.
Yeah, I would want Diggs.
He has volume.
Adam offered me Nelson for Doug Baldwin.
Yep.
Yeah, but
I don't really want either one of those players.
I don't want any of them.
But if I had
I don't want either of those players either.
I would take. That's a good one. If I had to, I'd take Doug Baldwin.
I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
Would you trade Jordy Nelson for Tyreek Hill? Not that I'm saying I would.
He gets way too much in terms of return yards and the gadget plays they use him on. He's a threat to score every time he touches the ball in that Chiefs offense.
Tyreek Hill has more value right now. Would you trade Jordy Nelson for? Would you trade Jordy Nelson for a combination of?
Now Mike's gonna look at his roster.
As
and see
he
what
looks at roster.
I have my roster memorized. I'm trying to think who roster.
Would you trade Jordy Nelson for Keenan Allen?
No, I would definitely keep Keenan Allen. No, that's all I would.
Yeah.
100%.
Jordy Nelson really has. It would be hard to trade. You would have to package Jordy Nelson with somebody else to get anybody.
I would.
Here's a question.
Yeah.
Here's
No value.
my choice and it's simply because I was so high on him at the beginning of the year, and it's
fine. He was
Marshawn
high.
Lynch.
Adam was high.
Marshawn Lynch.
Who?
For Marshawn Lynch.
We're off Jordy Nelson.
I think that with the name and the fact that I just love watching him play the game, I don't want to dump him from my roster. But the dude is just not. It's just not working.
Well,
It's
I mean,
not
if he
happening.
could ever, play a game without getting ejected for stupid stuff.
Well, he played
Yeah,
6
that
of
would be
those.
nice.
He did play 6 of those this year. It's only the one he got ejected from.
9, 12, 2, 1, 13, 7.
The problem is that you're not going to get, at least in our league, you're not going to find anybody on the waiver wire that would give you that. You can't do anything with Marshawn Lynch.
Consistently. I don't know. For me, probably Bryant is.
Yeah, I think Bryant's a good one.
Well, Clint, you've had
which
multiple
Bryant?
opportunities to trade Des Bryant, and you won't do it. You've had multiple opportunities to get rid of him, and you won't do it. So
Yeah,
that's
but
your fault.
this falls right into it.
Why would you get rid of Des Bryant?
Because he thinks he's TD dependent, and he probably doesn't trust the offense.
If you look at his numbers, like 6, 19, 10, 14, 17, 20, that is not bad.
Yeah, if you look at the numbers, but if you actually look at the game, I mean, he's very TD dependent. I mean, he has no speed anymore, has no burst. Basically, you throw a fade pass in the end zone, and if he catches a touchdown, he has a good week. If he doesn't, he gets single digit.
You take out the score, which obviously you can't take out the scores. I know it's a stupid point, but if to Mike's credit, if he doesn't catch that touchdown, if he doesn't fall in the end zone, then you're like crap. I played the wrong guy. I should have played one of my backups. My bench players. And how long is he going to keep that up? But for me, he's a fantasy player that I I believe will actually be a good fantasy in the top of the fantasy receivers. So I haven't traded him away. Of course, on that note, Mike's been offering me garbage. So I mean, maybe
Always offers garbage.
Let's move.
I mean,
whoa. I want to
gets
answer this
injured
question
and he's
with
like, hey, how
one of
about
my
Tate?
players. But first, I'm going to defend myself. Michael, I sent you a really good offer for that player. It was very good. This last offer that was not garbage.
Very okay. Listen, I'll pause here and say it wasn't necessarily garbage, but very good is not adjectives I would use to describe it.
All right. The player Kareem Hunt, which sounds like sacrilege.
What?
Because he's clearly. Let me finish. He's clearly one of the best 5 running backs in the league, if not. So, but I could 2 weeks ago, even now, I could easily get multiple great players for him. But I don't. And I would like that because I think I could upgrade some other positions instead of having all my ducks in just one player. But I don't want to do that because I'm going to be able to keep them for such a low price next year. I can't get rid of them. So I'm
Mike's
pretty much
hunting party. Mike's hunting party.
I would say at this point though, based on because this was a question that I faced. I tried to answer it too early. But this is a question I faced week 1, and I've explained this before. When I ended up trading Todd Gurley after week 1 because of his it was a great fantasy performance, but his real life performance against the Colts defense, which has turned out to be terrible, had me really worried about what his future performance would be against a real defense. And turns out, if I waited to find out the answer, I wouldn't have traded him, or at least I wouldn't have traded him for freaking Cam Newton. But
sorry, I shouldn't chuckle, but that was
no.
But I mean, maybe question 5 should be linked to question 4 for fantasy owners: emotional versus level-headed.
The thing is, hindsight's always 20/20 though when it comes to those players, because. I didn't think in my head. I was like, I'm not going to touch Gurley with the I
was actually trying to touch Gurley.
What was David going to say he was going to try and not touch him with?
I was trying to go with the Grinch, the 39 and a half ball.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you want to have that much confidence.
Can we circle back to my trade offer to Michael real quick, and we can edit this part?
God.
Before I sent him, I'm going to go ahead and lay my cards on the table here because I would like to go on record saying I do not always offer trash. Sometimes I offer trades that aren't great.
Before you get into it though,
yes.
I'm gonna let you explain this because I'll let you have your day. I will just say again, it wasn't trash, but it wasn't very good as you described it to be. Continue.
I guess agree to disagree. I offered Julio Jones and Mark Ingram for Le'Veon Bell and Nelson Aguilar.
No, that is not very good. That's not very good.
Okay, Clint says it's not very good. Adam, what do you say?
I'd say it's a decent trade-off.
Dave?
Who were the people that Michael you're wanting from him?
Oh, I offered my Julio Jones and Mark Ingram for his Le'Veon Bell and Nelson Aguilar.
Do you think, Dave, that was a very good trade?
Don't color him what you think.
I mean, that basically
kind of
is
trade
Jones for Bell, straight up.
What kind of offer was that?
I think it's a fair trade.
Thank you. That's all I need.
Admittedly, on my side, I wouldn't have made it just for the sheer sake of I feel like Bell is gonna like Mike says with me, I do like higher floors, and I think Bell has a higher floor.
Yeah,
I agree.
Just based on Michael's team, what do you think Michael would want for Le'Veon Bell?
Listen. Let me explain this to you.
Turning from podcast to personal life.
The upgrade. Well, and like we said, Adam's just gonna have to edit this whole part out.
Yeah, this is happening. Adam.
No, I'm not
Adam's
editing any
little,
of this out.
No, Adam's little picture when he's not talking there.
Oh, he's angry.
His little he looks angry. He looks like,
what were you saying,
on, mother.
I was saying that I'll be honest with you. When you first sent that and I saw the names right off the bat, I thought, okay, sure. Let me look a little bit more into this. When I looked more into it, that's when I realized it's not trash. It's not instant reject, which is why I didn't instantly reject your first offer. Your first offer was garbage, and you know it was garbage.
I'm not getting. This was my first offer, and it's the only one I'll say. So go.
but when I actually looked at the stats, Julio has done nothing this year.
Julio always does nothing.
Okay.
No, listen.
Here's the
Julio,
G.
compared to Le'Veon Bell. Le'Veon Bell is 9th ranked in points scored right now. You know what? You know where Julio Jones is
much
at?
lower.
He's at 87. 7.
I want to clarify this first by saying if I was in your shoes, I would not have done that at all, the trade. But for my side of things, the downgrade from Bell to Mark Ingram, who is going to be, a running back one going forward, what I feel was the upgrade from Aguilar to Julio Jones, who I think Julio Jones, he had a great game last week. I think he'll probably continue doing pretty well the rest of the year. But that's just I just want to make sure that people did not think I offered trash.
What I would like to say, just to end this question, is
I can talk all week.
Jarvis Landry is 25th ranked in our league, so just gonna throw that out there.
Oh my God!
I would. The only final point I'll say though, Mike, is that I don't.
Yes.
Is that I have Tyreek Hill, I have Mike Thomas, I have Michael Crabtree, and I have Aguilar, or however you say his last name.
Aguilar, I don't know. Crabtree, who has been hurt and has not been doing great this year. Thomas, who was hurt when I sent that offer. So
that's true. That's fair.
Yeah.
Right, that's fair. That's fair.
I took your needs into account. I'm a gentle trade offerer.
Here's the last question for this podcast. I know it's sad for all our listeners, but the one hit Oneaters, those who had one game.
This is a horrible pun by Clint, apparently.
No, I didn't do this.
Clint never said this. This is not what he said.
The one hit Oneaters, those who have one good game and haven't done much since.
No, I'm pretty sure Clint said one-hit wonders.
I did say one-hit wonders.
It says Oneaters.
Some little crappy thing where he does 1 and 1 because I saw it. I want to go on record as this is plagiarism.
It says Oneaters.
Not very
good. It's not even honest plagiarism. It's just straight slander.
It says Oneaters. Those who have had one good game and haven't done much since.
I don't know. I think this is to me, it's a hard question to really drill down to a player because of all the injuries at multiple positions this year.
I can very much agree there because people have been pressed into volume that they normally haven't had and been able to produce because of it.
So it's hard for me to say
here's one, and it's mainly due to his Belichick more than anything, but Mike Gillislee. Really great games and ended up in the doghouse, and we have no idea if he's going to do good again, especially with Dion Lewis starting to get back into pre-injury form.
That's more Gillislee's fault because he fumbled.
Yeah,
he's not allowed to fumble.
But I agree.
One thing you don't do on a Belichick team is fumble.
Even when we say one-hit wonder, he still made a mistake, which got him into that trouble. So it wasn't even.
It's like his production didn't go down.
It wasn't his production. It's he made a mistake, which caused his production to go down.
Yeah. Seems like such a under. I don't know. That's one. Yeah. I can't really think of any.
I know. I'm telling you, the injuries have really, really screwed up points in fantasy, at least, because you're having people like David mentioned that are being forced. Buck Allen, for example.
He's not even the starter for his team anymore.
That's true. Well, he was never the starter.
Yeah,
he was
never the starter.
Just a passing back.
he was forced into a role of a lot more volume simply because of injury and all of that. So
Going back,
this year,
go ahead, sir.
no, I just was reiterating my point.
Going back to Julio Jones.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
I mean, Julio Jones has had one last week. Granted, if he wouldn't have caught that touchdown, it would have been another down week. I mean, he has scored double digits, 5 out of his 6 games. But he has not done.
Just
he
because
had
11.
Yeah, I guess 10
2
counts as
points.
double digit.
Yeah.
matter of fact, technically 10 does count as double digits, and that is the
Um,
best kind of correct. Is technically correct.
Yeah,
So Julio
that's,
Jones.
that's using statistics to misguide your.
I feel like I'm
misguide your
using
audience.
statistics.
That's how
No,
my
truth.
that's
I
how
apologize.
Mike got married. Statistics. that misguided.
I got married because
If you
I found
if
her.
you marry below your grade, you will look better in real life. Statistics.
So I'm
I'm
gonna
gonna-
throw out a player. I'm gonna throw out a player.
Wait, no, I'm curious what Mike's point actually was before we trampled all
Yeah,
over.
Oh,
sorry.
I was going to say that Julio Jones has not. He had one high point game fantasy wise. Hasn't done much outside of that. I'll also say that my other option was T.Y. Hilton, who's had 2 great games and then games or 5 games where he's done nothing. But that goes back to Clint's point, where Jacoby Brissett has been forced to be the quarterback, and he's just not a great quarterback. So
what you're
a lot of these
saying,
one-hit wonders are tied.
what you're
Go ahead.
saying is that Julio Jones was a one-hit wonder, and it was ridiculous to offer him as a trade to Le'Veon
Yeah.
Bell in the first
Yeah.
place.
As a matter of fact, that's not what I said. I said that Julio
Touche.
Jones has scored in double digits.
Touch with an E.
5
Touch
out of
with
his
an
6 games. He just hasn't performed up until last week as we would have expected him to. But the forecast is looking sunny side up, and we're all Jones ahead
Julio
right now.
Jones. Julio Jones. This is my soapbox. Every year. No, he's not. He is not.
Clint,
Julio
do you really want to look at the stats? Because they're stats.
Julio Jones is overrated.
1,400 yards last year. 1,400
Julio-
yards last year. 1,800 yards the year before. 1,600 the year before that. Is
Look
that
at
overrated?
fantasy numbers. I'm talking about
That's. I
fantasy
would love to
numbers.
have. Okay, that's those yards translate to
Adam.
fantasy yards. Sorry.
The
Good
player
job,
that I
Adam.
the player that I think it is Jameis Winston. He had one game against the New York Giants that he showcased that he could do something. Ever since then, it's been garbage, garbage, garbage. Come on, Jameis, get it together, man. You're supposed to be better than Marcus Mariota, and you're not.
Can't we say that about the entire Buccaneers offense, though, really?
Yeah.
No, because I
That's-
think Mike Evans and Doug Martin have all done their jobs. They're trying
It was
to
a
force
joke.
the ball to Deshaun Jackson.
It's a joke.
It was a bad one.
It's Jameis Winston.
It sounded more like a statement. You
Well,
should have ended with an A. It was
A?
yeah.
What we got, Dave? Throw it out there, Dave.
I thought he did.
Dave's left us.
Dave is
No.
gone.
Is Dave gone?
He's muted.
No. He just said something about a 39.5-foot pole not too long ago.
That was a long time.
No, he's muted. What's going on right now is Dave. So Dave is on his phoning in, and he's driving, but Dave is really texting his wife or
Yeah.
something, and not realizing that we're having a whole conversation about him.
I don't know.
Michael, what's your option? What's your entry to this category?
Oh, you don't want to know my opinion.
We do.
I do,
That's-
actually.
That's why we
I'm
have.
one right now, so I won't put you on the spot.
Category.
I told you. I freaking told you. I called it.
Do I need to say the question again?
One-hit wonders.
The one-hit
One-hit wonders.
meters.
Nope.
Those who
I
have
put-
one good game. and haven't done much.
I said Mike
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
you did.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did.
Dave was the
I
Oh
was
god.
surprised.
Sorry, Dave. We totally got off on a tangent. We're gonna have to go back.
I told you.
Forgot what I said.
Good Lord.
So now we're back to my.
Michael.
Don't listen to the man who wants to trade you Julio Jones, and don't listen to the guy in California who, like, not really sure he's here at this moment.
For the record, Clint, you have. Well, now I'm questioning where I'm at. but-
Yeah, exactly.
But no, in all seriousness, I wouldn't necessarily call him a one-hit wonder.
Oh, neater.
Thank you. Nope. Inaccurate, Adam.
Actually, Well, I almost threw the Jacksonville defense in there, but I guess they actually stepped up.
Oh, they've been like great the entire year, and I was so happy to get them in for agency and have the.
No, they had to. Or sorry, not Jacksonville. There was a defense like in week 1 that put near 30 points or something, and then it's just been like single digit points beyond that, and then they like out of nowhere put up another. Anyway,
Mike, you on that?
Yeah, Mike, you looking that up?
Oh no.
You're our stats guy.
Yes, I will look this up. Continue talking while I feverishly look this up.
Thank you very much.
I didn't think too much about this one. I don't think he really qualifies, but I think an honoree list, if you were saying not necessarily one-hit wonders, but haven't lived up to the expectation, would be Tarek Cohen. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, John Fox. Almost called him Jeff Fisher.
Yeah.
Might as well have been Jeff Fisher.
Very similar, yeah.
Going to the defenses real quick. We have the options are Los Angeles, who put up 33 in the first week and then had single digits the next 4, but they've been good the last 2 weeks. We have Carolina, who put up 18 in the season opener and has only hit double digits twice the rest of the games. And then we have
didn't the Saints do really good?
Philadelphia had put up 25 in the first game and then have hit double digits only twice in the next 6.
See, the thing is, the Rams haven't necessarily been terrible, though, even in their single digits.
I think we're talking about for fantasy purposes. That's not great.
Yeah,
it was 2, 3, and 4 points, so it's not.
Yeah, I think it was honestly. I think it was the Rams defense. I was thinking.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they went up against me.
So, yeah, that would have until they started doing really well recently. That would have been my one-hit wonder, only because I don't.
At Jacksonville, though, they're definitely not one-hit wonders.
No, Jacksonville. No, I'm really pretty
Yeah.
mad because I tried to pick Jacksonville up. I tried to pick Jacksonville up a couple of weeks ago and got outbid for them. And then I was like, oh, okay, I'll just pick them up on the bye week when somebody drops them inevitably.
Which happened.
Which happened, and then I wasn't paying attention because whatever.
Well, were you willing to spend over $37 on them?
Yeah, no, I was not willing to spend $37.
Well, then you wouldn't have got them.
I would not have got them anyway. But if I had picked them up, I wanted to pick them up. I forget who they were, but they had. It was the week before they faced the Browns, I think. They had a down matchup that week, and I tried to pick them up on the down matchup because I thought nobody's going to want Jacksonville this week. They have a tough matchup.
Yeah,
right.
I'll pick them up this week, leave them on my bench, and then I will carry them the rest of the way because their schedule looks fantastic.
Fantastic.
And it didn't happen.
The good thing is that since I've gloated about this so much, they're going to be horrible probably. So
Yep.
Well,
I
we
hope
can look
so.
forward to that.
Because because my plan didn't work out the way I wanted it to. And so
You should have probably planned that out better.
So we've reached the end of our second podcast. Woo! Finally, after 2 years of trying to get this to happen, we actually have 2 episodes. So.
And what did we learn today? That Julio Jones is a really good wide receiver.
And Mike offers trash.
Yep.
We didn't learn
I think
that.
those are the 2 things.
That was
those are the 2 things that we
conclusively
learned.
disproven. That was fundamentally disproven.
Is that Pennington's jersey behind you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Pennington.
is that
Marshall,
because
and
he's from? Is that because Pennington is from East Tennessee?
Yes.
Is that the only reason you have that? Is that the
well,
only reason you have that jersey?
I loved him as a quarterback, so I have his statue on my statues wall.
I'll be honest.
I'm just so happy to see Mike again.
Yeah, it's awesome. Hello, and welcome back to Mike's Finest Hour.
Do an outro? Are we done? Or are we just?
Yeah, we're
donkey
doing.
ball?
This is the outro.
Oh, I just said something.
Years from now, when your children are watching this, they'll be able to hear you say that.
I have one child. I'm going to have one child, so yeah.
Who knows? You never know.
I know. I
20
control
years
that.
from now.
I control that. I know. I'm very certain.
20 years from now, who knows?
No, 20 years from now. Yeah. What? I missed that. I didn't hear.
What'd you say, Dave?
I didn't hear what Robotic Dave said.
Podcast since he was missing this episode.
I can't understand
Dave
anything.
turned into Robotnik. It's like,
Oops.
Dave,
Look like I'm
how do I turn on the subtitles for Dave?
Can somebody
It would
Dave,
just
somebody give Dave the Turing test?
Dave's subtitles would simply be, "Have you heard about that Green Bay story?" Like, no matter what he said.
Did you know that all of the Green Bay fans own a piece of the team?
He
I did.
actually does.
He
No, I know,
does.
that would be
Dave does on that, and
would
I
be
got to be
Dave's
honest.
subtitles. That would be
That's
his
cool.
We give Dave a lot of crap for being a Packers fan. We give everybody a lot of crap for being a fan of any team. But I actually genuinely think it's cool that the Packers are not that they are a publicly owned team. I think
agree
that
with
is
that.
really
Yeah.
cool, actually.
I agree with that.
And that
I
Dave
think
owns
it's
a part of
awesome.
it.
And Dave owns a
yeah.
part of it. I think
I don't
that's
know.
incredible.
Yeah, but it's kind of like a false. I mean, it's not. I mean, they're publicly owned, but it's not like the shareholders can get together and do anything.
No, it's a non-voting share.
Oh,
Yeah.
well done, Mike. Well done. We were sitting here bragging on
Thanks.
something, trying to build somebody up, and then you're like, "Oh, wait a minute, let me pull that rug out from under you."
Well, I
You
don't
don't
think
mean
Dave
jack
needs to build
crap
up
in the scheme of
at
things.
all. Dave,
We actually-
he knows himself.
Wait,
Hold on,
wait,
I think
Dave.
the robot
Hey.
Dave is trying to speak.
We actually get voting rights and we get invited.
Boom, in your
Oh.
face,
So,
in your face.
so how much are y'all going to sign Aaron Rodgers for with his extension? Are y'all going to vote on how many millions of dollars?
And with that, we're going to end this episode. Thank you all for being here, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.
I've got a pretty big nose.
You